Take me through the Inc. ID. How do I get an Inc. ID? How do I protect my territory, or do I have a global? Can you explain that? Because this is very unique. What would you call this?
Yeah, so it's the platform right now. We're just in the alpha stage right now, right? And so it's invite only.
Right.
There's no orphans, which means nobody could come directly to the company and get an invite code.
Okay, got it.
Two reasons we do that. One is we try to control the volume of people coming into through the alpha phase. So everybody has to know somebody already to get onto the platform. The other thing is as a company, we don't want to compete with our users.
Sure.
So say I'm an influencer or say I'm a high school kid, and I'm like, I'm going to invite my buddies, I'm going to send them my Inc. ID so they can onboard onto the platform. The kid gets home and they're like, man, where did my buddy send that Inc. ID to? Did he text? I'm just going to click on the company website and get my Inc. ID.
Right.
All of a sudden, we just cut the poor kid out that told them all about the platform.
Right.
So we've learned to make sure there's no orphans.
Right.
And everybody's connected to somebody. And we'll keep it like that as long as we can. The other thing I'm excited about is, companies like LinkedIn or platforms like LinkedIn they tease you a little bit, like, hey, this is a second connection, or this is a third connection.
Sure.
This will be the first time where people actually see their true viral connectivity,
right,
and they get paid for it. And so, it's our job not just to create our own titles, right? I mean, we are game builders, and we're pretty good at it. But there's also some amazing developers that are creating just great assets that don't have distribution yet, don't have a home yet. Mm-hmm. So we do want to be that platform where they
So you're building the architecture right now.
We are.
And this sounds to me a cross between gaming, social, global, and commerce.
Yeah.
So you're building this tapestry. Never been done before.
Never been done before.
Right here.
Nope. Started work.
How do our
begun the patent process,
members and the global IMA get involved to support this? This is very compelling.
Yeah. Well, one is by getting an Inc. ID, and it takes 30 seconds just to get loaded onto the platform, and then that gives them the opportunity to start just read about it, get newsletters, things like that. We'll start talking about our first game that's under development.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know if you have your Inc. ID. You do have your Inc. ID.
Kevin does, my partner. Yeah, he's all over it.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's right. Kevin does. Yeah. Actually, he's involved.
He loves it.
Smart.
He's getting checks already.
I know.
He was sitting here with us 2 weeks ago. You remember? He said he got his first check.
People are getting checks.
So tell us how that check process works.
Yeah. You know what? When you're trying to get a user base engaged, you kind of ask them, well, what do you want? Not everybody could be an investor in our company, right? Because whatever. The government hates it when just the average guy can invest for some reason. So we have to give somebody something they can invest.
Sure.
So there's a few really cool platforms out there. I won't say the name of them,
okay.
But these guys have done a really good job of getting this user engagement before the platform launches. So we thought, okay, what do people want? So we started asking some of our early users. And they said, well, we'd love some sort of ownership even before the platform goes live. And we thought that'd be really cool if people could buy their territories, like if they could buy their zip code, or if they could buy their postal code if you're in a different country. And then when users start to populate in these postal codes and zip codes around the world, on your dashboard, you could see how many people were in that zip code, what they were spending money on, and if you got a piece of it. Right? So it's like you own this virtual territory that is kind of looking down on all these areas of where people are spending money, and you get a piece of it. So it's like them owning, just this virtual in-game asset. The cool thing about owning zip codes and postal codes, though, is it's not just for one game or our games.
Right.
As we start to load more and more titles onto our engine, everything that we load up, and whenever somebody is spending money in the territory they own, they get a portion of it.
Okay.
And it varies between different games and titles. Right. So it's not just
one game. If they're in the game, like let's say Kevin is in Newport and I'm in San Clemente, and he owns that zip code, and I'm in the game, and he invited me on his Inc. ID. I buy something in the game, he gets a portion of it.
He does.
It's amazing.
Yeah, he does. And this is, and we have plans to go into 160 countries and territories.
Continued success.
And so that's just one. When you're looking at the dashboard, that's just one thing you'll be able to click on. Is like, I wonder how my assets are doing. I wonder how my zip codes are doing and my postal codes are doing. And then you'll be like, I wonder how my invites are. I wonder how my viral reach is doing. So the dashboard will continue to track all the revenue running through the platform and how much you're making by the minute. And so,
And have you created any games yet for this? Or
we
are
have
you guys in
one
production?
game in development because we couldn't help ourselves. Being a AAA shop, we're like we got to create something totally awesome. I'm not going to say the name of it yet because we're hammering away on trademarks.
But
and
you're going to
SEO.
break it on Impact first, okay?
Actually, I will. I'll break
cool.
it. It's super cool.
Awesome.
But but the bottom line is what we're building that does not exist anywhere is a tracking and payment engine.
Right.
We're tracking all of our users. We're connecting all of our users together. And then we're sitting that on top of a payment engine.
Right.
And that's what does not exist. I think that's the next one up.
That's awesome.
I believe that next year people will have a decision to make, and that could be they could work at Starbucks, or they could drive for Uber, or they could sit at Starbucks and invite everybody to Ink Games and actually make more money.
So continued success with everything going on in business, and this is very insightful. So many things that we drew out of this that will be very beneficial for entrepreneurs and people watching. Tell us a little bit about Robert. Some of the adversity. Being an entrepreneur myself, I've had way more failures, way more stress than I've had success.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks easy when you meet us and you only hear the good story. But tell us a little bit about the pain when you reach adversity or you reach failure. How do you get past that? Because I can only imagine all that you've probably had to endure to get to this point. Can you tell us a little bit about there and maybe unpack some of that for us?
Yeah. So, I would say I'm no different than the average guy. Of course, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm a high-risk guy. And I've been called lucky, where I grew up. I have friends that, if I would have had the opportunity, we all had the same opportunity, right? But I worked more, and I took more risk. And I would say that I am fortunate enough to where about maybe one out of every 5 of the different checks I've written have been home runs, which is great. But a couple things I always think about is in between those wins, it's easy for doubt to creep up and start to feel like, well, maybe I was lucky. Maybe I'm not as talented as I thought I was. Maybe I'm not as creative. And so you got to be real careful as an entrepreneur not to take the bait of, oh, I was just lucky. The other thing, and I tell my team this all the time, is you cannot be afraid of pivots. And now we've taken that even to another level of don't be afraid of micro pivots.
Right.
Every single day, do not be afraid of pivots. And I read recently that the average successful company that turns into a home run has pivoted, like massive pivot, 5 times.
Right.
Now our shareholders always hate that. They see something different, like I thought we were doing this, or I thought we were doing this.
Right.
You get a small taste of what Bezos has dealt with for many years. But you have to stay fluid. You can't be afraid of the micro pivots. You have to be willing to outwork everybody else. You have to. And so, but it's been. And this whole time, I've been raised in a family, right? So my wife, Alicia, has been very gracious to allow me to work around the clock. And so have my kids. They've been very gracious as well.